Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning into another edition of Breakfast and Combos live right here on LinkedIn. I'm Liberty White, video marketing specialist.
And I'm T. Adeola, digital marketing expert who sits at the intersection of digital media, technology, and commerce.
Awesome, awesome. So we are excited. Like T, I'm excited about this guest we have today.
You and me both. It's definitely going to be one for the books. I'm really excited about Joshua Reid. I would describe him as an entrepreneur's entrepreneur. His journey from becoming an influencer, like a bona fide influencer, not one of these like fakes who uses bots and a bunch. No, he's like the genuine article, and how he's parlayed that into Studio Cincy, and then he's starting a tech company, y'all. Blacks in Tech right here. Blacks in Tech right here. Like this is just phenomenal. Plus, you're starting us off with a fire topic that I can't wait to learn about because full disclosure, I'm not a gamer. So I actually don't know much about the space. So anything that you can do to educate me, I'm right there with the audience learning about it. So I'm really looking forward to getting into that. And looks like you got some sunshine happening in the background. So it's like, yo, you got I'm more or less in a cave. So there's no sunshine here because I'm in a room with no windows. But
We bring the sunshine, just like everyone who's tuning in on their devices, wherever you are, because we are simulcasting. Again, good morning. So, like you said, I'm going to get into this because do you hear those Canada geese?
Yeah.
They're joining us. They're joining us this morning.
Yes, more the merrier.
All right. So this weekend so today, happy Cinco de Mayo to everybody also that is watching. So today is a big day on so many fronts because the NBA 2K League, they are kicking off, starting with remote because, COVID-19. So at least for the next 6 weeks, the league will be remote and it starts today. And the wonderful thing about this too is the exponential growth that is taking place in esports right now. And I've got some stats because, like I said, you're always like making sure that I stay, as you say, stay honest with the stats. So let me just bring and show you guys what has been taking place in just with the growth. I want to say it's been 24%. I got to go to my notes here. Yes.
That's quite a bit. That is not an insignificant jump. You're talking double digits in a very short amount of time.
Very short, very short. So the pre-COVID and then to where we are right now, 24% increase. And this is by Tubular Labs. So they're a social video insights company, and just I'm pushing out the stats. And bear with me, folks, because I want to make sure that I show you, because visual representation always makes a difference when you can see it.
Picture's worth 1,000 words. Absolutely.
That it is. All right, here we go. Boom. So we've got the league starting out, and then with just the numbers, looking at that. So this is as of that last week of March, and there you see the year over year growth. And this, just looking at the channels, online gaming, simulation, and consoles, as you see here, this is post-COVID, the fuchsia line here, and then pre-COVID. Like they're totally crushing it right now.
Yeah.
And we saw that even this past weekend was Tech for COVID that was hosted by Community X and a number of other partners. And it was all about, because we've been talking a lot about underserved communities and the digital divide. So their whole goal this weekend was to raise funds for, students are finishing school and some of them do not have access to Wi-Fi, to internet. And, thankfully for companies like Comcast, they have their essentials package, which if you are lower income, that you will still be able to use internet service with Comcast for a nominal fee. And so they were raising money. At last I saw, at the time of this broadcast, they're at roughly over $115,000 raised. So kudos to Tech
for
well
done.
Right, Tech for
Well done.
COVID. I got a chance to jump in over the weekend to just watch the stream. So it wasn't just gaming. So that was, the main part of it. But they were also just ensuring that they had community speakers sharing, they had celebrities. And that's the thing when it comes to gaming as well, is that it's the mix of the worlds. You
Mhm.
have the gamers, who a lot of them have become like celebrity status, but then you have entertainers that are getting into it. Offset from the Migos, he just donated $10,000 to Community X 2 months ago. They had an event at Access Replay. So just seeing
Well done.
all these worlds come together. And I know that you are, when it comes to STEM and the underserved community, that's a big deal for you.
Absolutely, absolutely. Joshua and I actually met at a cohort that I'm currently going through the Entrepreneurship Center in Dayton, Ohio, where I'm from. And the whole concept, the one sentence summary of the business that I'm in the process of building is replacing the school to prison pipeline with a marketing technology pipeline. Right. So fairly straightforward.
Right.
Get out of that pipeline and get into this pipeline. And those stats that you shared were really amazing. And it's like we said before, it's just an acceleration of a trend that we've already been seeing. Something that I'm curious to see and see how they manufacture this or maneuver this is whether or not they're creating a data flywheel in this process. So for those of you who don't know, again, I'm a digital marketing expert. So I tend to see almost everything through the lens of marketing. And in marketing, we have this old concept known as the funnel, right? Which it's a metaphor that describes a process of moving someone from a prospect from awareness all the way through loyalty. Well, a different or sort of not competing, but just a different point of view is what's called a data flywheel or a customer flywheel. Liberty, I don't know if you can pull that up real quick, that
Yes.
link, and it just talks about the having momentum and keeping the momentum going as you go through a similar process. And a good buddy of mine, old guest from my podcast previously, Christopher Lockhead, he talks about the data flywheel and the role that plays in what he calls category kings or category creators. And something that isn't a given that you think would be is that category kings or folks that move the category forward, they have a data flywheel, meaning that every time we interact with the platform, so take like Amazon or Netflix, right? Every time you interact with those platforms, they learn more about you. Right. So
Okay.
it's not just you're, going and watching something or you're going and buying something. They're taking that data, what you browse, what you watch, what you buy, and they're aggregating it to build a profile and learn more about you. So the platform itself is actually learning more about you as you go through the process.
Okay.
And not everybody does this, right? So a good
Mm,
example is Disney Plus, for example. Disney does not have a data flywheel, even though they have this huge catalog and they have a higher hit rate than a lot of other programmers. The big dog in that space is still Netflix, because as you engage with Disney Plus, um they don't integrate the data in the same way that Netflix does. Does that make sense?
yes.
So again, Disney Plus is still new. It just jumped on the scene, and it hasn't unseated Netflix, and only time will tell how that goes. But the companies that create a data flywheel, that is, the platform learns more about you, not only you but the category as a whole, as you interact with it. those are the ones that are going to win. So again, you know more about the esports in the gaming space than I do. So you're very much so teaching me when it comes to that. But that's always what I'm looking for when I hear things like this. So are they just taking the money, not
Right.
taking the money, but are they just getting this influx, but they're not actually building out their flywheel? Because in 2020, as a CMO or a leader of an organization, if you're not building a flywheel, then what you doing?
Flying away.
Exactly.
I couldn't help that one.
That's right. That's right. So
Awesome.
yeah. So yeah, that's my take on it, Liberty. How about you? What are you watching for as this space continues to grow?
Well, and just even as it continues to grow, of course, the diversity aspect of things. There are a lot of, women gamers that are coming to the table, and just seeing that a lot of these organizations are also ensuring that, like, even James is, good morning, James, as he's watching us here on LinkedIn. And, he's even interested in getting his son involved in it as well. So I'm looking forward to, yes, us seeing. And he makes a comment of, because I asked him which part of the topics that we've shared, and he said the programming side. Yes, like that. If we've said this before on the show, that some of these heroes that we're talking about are these tech, the infrastructure, the programmers that are keeping Instagrams, the LinkedIn's, the necessary platforms, the Zooms, keeping us, because just the bandwidth that we are using right now.
Yeah.
Yes, programming is the way to go. So I'm looking forward. And thank you for that, James, because I'm going to look for resources to see even how we can bring some people on in that part of the conversation, but then also share that, because we have started a newsletter, and we can share some of those resources as well. And because I see Joshua in the waiting room, so I'm going to let you get to it in a moment, T. That also today, just tying a bow on this esports conversation, is also COVID aid, and that is another. So we're seeing this fusion of the tech, the celebrities, and then also the causes that are out there. And so that starts today, and it's all day. It starts at 10 a.m. and all day live stream. And again, I'm like, wait, visuals here. This is the producer in me. So producing while also hosting as well. But that starts today. And you have the likes of Little John, who is getting involved in the organization and what they are doing. And they're all about helping the first responders and making sure that they are taken care of, that they are supported. And, when you think about it, they're literally giving their lives for us, and also the Boys and Girls Club as well. So I know that I will be jumping on Twitch today to make sure that I can see what's happening with COVID aid. So that's it. That's what I've got for you today, folks. So remember, wherever you're watching, jump into the comments. We're about to get into a great discussion. So T, I'm going to toss it back over to you.
Certainly. And folks, you are in for a treat, because coming to the stage in just a few moments is none other than Mr. Joshua Reid. Now, as I said previously in the broadcast, Joshua is someone I would describe as an entrepreneur's entrepreneur. So first things first, he's a bona fide influencer, not one of these so-called gurus who just woke up one day and proclaimed themselves a guru, then Jim Jones, the bunch of naive people into blithely following them, and then use that as proof of their guru-ness. Like, hey, I just tricked a bunch of people. No. He's the real deal. Got a deal with GNC 7 years ago. That's
not
overnight. 7 years ago. Parlay that into and I'll let him tell his story, but founder of Studio Cincy, which is a co-working space here in Cincinnati, where I currently reside. And he's also in the process of launching his own tech platform, Inphlu. So this guy is the genuine article. Like we don't slouch on our guests. I hope you can see that by now. So without further ado, Josh, welcome to the show.
Awesome. Good morning, John. So I think you might be muted. So if we can get you unmuted.
Unmuted.
Right.
There we go.
I saw you listening to us. So you were just like, okay, I can't dive in.
Yeah, I was listening, live and direct. So, first and foremost, I want to say good morning and thank you for having me on your platform. I'm excited to be here. It's nice and early. I'm like 3/4 of the way through my coffee. So I'm gonna start Zooming.
Right.
That's right.
So, so just be ready is all I'm gonna tell you. Just be ready.
We are ready. We ready. We born ready. So Josh, again, I just gave a very brief overview. Please take the next 5 minutes or so and walk us through your journey, because you have been through so many phases and so many different. I mean, you're like a walking lifetime story, man. So just take it away and walk us through that.
Well, thank you for your kind words, and it was a wonderful introduction. There's a lot of different journeys, I could go down just over the past, just 10 years of, undergraduate school, graduating into the recession. The smart play was to stay in, school. So I went to graduate school. I'm actually an electrical engineer by trade. And so did a bachelor's, then went to graduate school for my master's. Worked in corporate America at 24 years old. So I had an MBA position at 24 without an MBA. So they took a chance on me, and I said, well, man, this company is willing to give me an MBA position without an MBA. Maybe I should go to business for myself. And so I left after 3 years and started my first startup company, which was 2015. And so we are. So been in business for 5 years. And actually, my tech company, we're actually launched. So my tech company is we're up and running. We're headquartered downtown Cincinnati, called Inphlu. We're a team of 10. So it's, you gotta let me know which lane you want to go down. We could talk about being a national spokesman, from the academia standpoint. I was a true advocate for education. I have a different perspective now, still an advocate, but a different perspective, just based on me gaining wisdom and knowledge over the years. Or we can go down the path of just, in the startup phase, profit phase, tech phase. There's a lot we could talk about.
Let's talk about your relationship with GNC and how that started, and how you got to 1 million followers, and how that led you into really digging into.
Sorry, I just had to pause. Did you say 1 million followers?
We reach over, personally, I reach over 5. I think my max is 5 million. 5 million in a week. Yeah. Organic.
In a week. No, he just like sort of grazed over that in a week. And again, this dude is not buying bots. He's not bribing people. It's like he actually did. Like, listen, man. Like, I don't mean to be too. And I haven't drank coffee, by the way. I just got water, right? Just water. Yeah, this is just me. So it's like, this is something that everybody wants. To catch that lightning in the bottle, but it's so elusive, especially for us. Right. Like, you know what I mean? So just please, we will walk down all of those other paths as we continue through the interview, but start with, what it's like to be online famous, and how you got signed by GNC, and how that, how you use that, specifically how you use that to roll into Inphlu.
Absolutely. So it's a long journey. I have emails from 2008, 2009. What I found, back then with the fitness magazines, they normally list all the editors' information every magazine. Men's Fitness, Women's Fitness, ESPN, the list goes on. And so what I did is I found every email, and I sent every email in the magazine an email, with my modeling pictures that I, had. And I just wanted to be one of those faces in GNC that they used to be around the perimeter of the GNC inside. There's these black and white like postcard with faces on. And I never got a response. And that was 2009. Well, I was a 3-sport athlete in college. So football is my number 1 sport. And after I graduated college, I still stayed in the gym, stayed in shape. And I ended up doing this modeling show. By then I moved to Dayton in 2011 when I accepted a full-time job. 2011, I still stayed in modeling. So I was part of Dayton Fashion Week. And I actually got recruited by Abercrombie and Fitch. And so then it was kind of like the swimwear, you're staying in the store with no shirt on, etc. And but me, I was more in a bulkier fit than a lean fit. So there's like, you got to get more lean. You're in shape, but we need you to slim down a little bit. And I got in the diet, got fit, and I leaned out very quickly. I realized, like, man, I'm real cut up. Yeah, I never just took the blanket off of it. I was bulky, but when you take the blanket off, he's like, man, you got a nice physique. And I was in LA Fitness in Beaver Creek, and a gentleman by the name of Scott Mabry, he said, man, you ever consider competing? And I was like, compete for what? He said, men's physique. I said, well, what is that? He said, it's a form of bodybuilding. Arnold, I was like, yeah. He said, well, it's the men's physique category. So I think you should try it out. And at that time, I was trying to do everything to get out of engineering. It just wasn't maximizing all my skills and talents. And I said, well, I don't have nothing to lose. So there's a show in 3 weeks. I think you should go out for it. I'm introduced to my brother. And his brother name is Monty Mabry. And I said, okay, cool. So I meet Monty. He's like, man, you got to get posing trunks. And I was like, okay. So you got to learn a posing routine. I was like, all right. He said, well, you did fashion shows. I said, yeah. He said, so think of it as a fashion show. So I went into this show. It was the 2013 Cincinnati Naturals. The 73rd is the oldest bodybuilding show in the history of bodybuilding. I won the whole thing. First show, I was nervous.
Woo,
I never stood in. Won the whole thing. Landslide. All right. I was so nervous. I never stood in front of a crowd of people with, no shirt on. My lip was big. I was like, yeah, I had on board shorts. And the thing is, GNC was at the top of this fly. So I was like, man, I've been trying to get to GNC since 2009. So this is 2013. So I was like, well, maybe this is my shot. He said, there's another show in 2 weeks down in Kentucky. I said, well, sign me up. There's another show before that? He said, no. I said, okay. So that was in 2 weeks. I went into Kentucky. It was on Galt. I think it's called Galt, right off of 4th, the Galt House.
Okay.
Won the whole thing. So I'm 2 weeks into competing, and I won 2 shows. The GNC is still the top sponsor.
Fire.
So he said, man, we should try to go pro. So I went to Chicago, and it was June 15th, 2013, man. I won the whole show. I turned pro in 2 months. Wow. I won one more show in between that. But just to make a long story short, so GNC was there. Now, my mother is like me times 10. She's the life of the party. And she's my wife now, but she was my girlfriend at the time. She was with my mother. So, the 3 of us go to Chicago. GNC had the biggest booth. Now, I had a camera crew following me because I've been documenting all of this because I don't know where this came from. This is my shot to get out of engineering and to get to GNC.
And so this is in 2013?
This 2013. So I had a camera.
So the way
I got everything. For the last 10 years of my life, everything is documented.
Awesome.
So I had a camera crew. A good friend of mine, Mark, he was a fireman, but he did video work on the side. And he's like, Josh, man, you got to win this. Otherwise, this ain't gonna work. I was like, man, nah, this is a blessing. We only been doing this for a month and a half, and we're already going for pro. So meanwhile, I'm downstairs getting tan, and we have to tan to make sure your color's even. And the darker you look, the better you look on stage.
Y'all. Yeah, like, don't believe the hype.
I'm getting a spray tan and everything. And so I'm downstairs and I'm getting tan. I said, I want to look like a new penny. That ain't dark enough. Give me another coat. My mother keeps calling me, Josh, GNC want to talk to you. So my mother went to the booth. His name was Bill. He's a good friend of mine to this day. Bill Center goes to the booth, and we got this magazine called Muscle and Body. And Bill was on the cover. So she goes to the GNC booth and says, how do I get my son in this magazine? Now she's talking to the guy who's on the magazine. So he's looking at my mom like, well, who's your son? She said, well, I'll call him up here right now. And Ashley, my wife, she was standing right there. I was like, Mom, what is it? I'm trying to get tan. She said, come upstairs, GNC want to talk to you. So I come upstairs. Cameras are following me. I got my portfolio with, my resume, modeling pictures, everything, newspaper articles, everything on the leather binder, right? And he says, so your mother says you've been trying to get to us. I said, yes, sir. So what do you bring to the table? I had one portfolio, handed it to him. I said, here you go. That night, he said, if you don't turn pro, nobody goes pro their first time. So if you don't go pro, don't get discouraged. Just come back again next year. That was the email he sent me. Well, I turned pro, I won the show. I did hear from him for I'm getting emotional. I talk about it. I did.
All right. It's all right. This is the real stuff, ladies and gentlemen. This is what it looks like.
Yeah, it's changed my life. All right, come on. So I didn't hear from him for 2 weeks. I was like, man, what's going on? And so I sent Bill an email. I said, hey, Bill, just want to follow up with you for my conversation. I won the show. Thank you for talking to me. Yada, yada, yada. And then he responded. He said, Josh, we've been watching you. And he said, if you can't market yourself, how can you market $1 billion company? They've been watching me for 2 weeks on social media. And I literally signed on the phone. 2 weeks later, they flew me to Chicago. My first event and introduction to the company was the Chicago Marathon. So I'm in the Chicago, speaking to 50,000 people. Okay. They sent me a shipment. I came home within 3 days of that email. I came home, my whole porch. I was living in Fairfield, Beaver Creek at the time, off of Colonel Glenn. Mm-hmm. My whole porch was full of GNC. I had so much product. I could open my own GNC store just as a welcome. Wow. And so I went to my coaches, who started, who got me into competing, which led me to getting signed. So I turned pro in 2 months. I became a GNC endorsed athlete, 2 weeks after that. And then 4 months later, they flew me to New York. And I was on top of Mill Studios shooting for the national campaign. In January 2014, my face was in.
This is beautiful, man. You choking me up, man. And I'm fat. I'm trying to get like man, you.
Listen,
I'm trying to get.
Man, listen, my face is in front of 7,000 stores.
Wow.
Okay, so I'm just wanted to toss this because every question that I have is out the window, because what this is the innovation, the startup, the marketing aspect of things, but your perseverance is what. No, this is because especially in this current state of our world right now, these are the stories that we need to hear. Yeah. And I thank you, everyone who is chiming in I see you on Facebook, I see you on LinkedIn. And so the question I have for you is, what was going through your mind as you made that point where everything changed? Like the fact that you, as you said, 2 weeks, you didn't hear from him, but you kept calling, you kept reaching out.
Yeah. Well, I have an enormous amount of faith. One thing I didn't talk about is, throughout that, I was still working full time and as an engineer, and my job, I worked in Sydney. I lived in Dayton, but I lived in Sydney, which is an hour away. So in order for me to do my training per my protocol for my trainer, Monty, I had to wake up. I woke up every day at 4:30 in the morning. LA Fitness opens at 5. I live 10 minutes from LA. If I woke up at 4:30, I had already had my protocol for the morning, so I could literally be out the house in 5 minutes. I got to the gym at 5. And in order for me now, the thing is you're competing with a 5 a.m. crowd. There's a lot of people that go to the gym at 5 in the morning, and it's typically an older crowd. And the first thing they want to do is go to the treadmills and the Stairmasters. So I had to get there a little early so I can get to the treadmill. The Stairmaster. So I would get there about 4:45, maybe 10 minutes to 5. That way I could be first in line at the door. We line up at the door to get in. And I would go a beeline straight to the Stairmaster so I could do 45 minutes of cardio. So I'll get in a cardio 5 to 5:45 a.m., get off, change my shirt, go straight home, get home by 6. I would shower, eat, all by 7, jump on the road at 7, drive an hour to get to work at 8. I would leave work at 4:30 so I could beat rush hour traffic, get home by about 5:15, 5:45, change again, go straight to the gym, train for another hour. I did that every single day. Every day. Every single day for 8 months.
Woo!
Because after I signed, now it's like you make the team. Now you got to earn your playing time. So I couldn't get comfortable. I just had to turn up the intensity, know. And so while I was waiting, even though I didn't hear from him, I still had to do what I had to. I still had to do what I did to get there. Because in my mind, you never know who's watching.
Right.
So that's what I was thinking. I was like, man, they could be watching me. And they were, and so people may say, man, that happened. Look, I've been putting in work. Mind you, I said I've been emailing GNC since 2009. Okay, 2009. Right. And at the same time, I have a full-time job. I have my girlfriend, so I have a responsibility. Okay, but the thing is, she's been my rider and from day one, okay, from day one, which I had to marry, and we just had our first baby together.
Congratulations!
And yeah, she's a physician, so she's a frontliner. She's an OBGYN.
And front line.
Yeah, thank you. And so we've been grinding, you know, from day one. And the way things are happening, I was like, man, I know I got this. It was just the way things lined up. It wouldn't make sense for this not to happen, you know. Right. And then the way me and Bill, you know, if you guys see the videos, the way me and Bill, when we first met each other, was like we knew each other for 10 years. Mm-hmm. You know, and he was like, Josh, he said, man, no, you're an engineer. I was like, yeah. You know, he said, wait, how?
There was that alignment that, like, just when we met,
if you watch the video how we met, it was like we knew each other for 10 years. And you know, and I gotta think, you know, my wife and my mom, because if they wasn't up there work, they know what I wanted to do. And so if they wasn't up there, you know, helping me achieve that, I don't think I would be on this morning live show with you guys, because.
And that's huge. That is huge. Not to jump over there, because two things I took from that is, one, when you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready. And my man had a camera crew. And he had
in 2013.
In 2013, he had two people riding with him, his mom and the woman that were going to be his wife. So two heavy hitters, not two slouches, not two entourages that's just there for the free food. No, he had people that was there to work. You know what I'm saying? And his mom got it in. Like, yo, my son needs to holler at you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? How dope is that?
He's like, who's your son?
You know what I mean?
He was like,
that is.
He said, man, he said, you're the only person around here with cameras following you. I said, well, if I tell you the story, you won't believe it. Because I didn't even know what this was 2 months ago. I never heard of this sport. And it's been around for 75 plus years, you know.
I want to jump in here because James is saying, he's asking, so wait, they signed you after telling you couldn't market for GNC.
They said how the reason why I didn't hear from them is they said they wanted to see how I was branding myself. And they said, if you can't market yourself, then how do you think you can market $1 billion company? And they said what they were saying is they loved the way I was marketing myself. Because if you can't market yourself, then how can you market GNC?
Right.
You know, we don't, you know, and now he wasn't being disrespectful, but, you know, we don't need you. We want you, right? But we're $1 billion business. We don't, I mean, if you don't bring nothing to the table, then why would we sign you? And so we wanted to see what you brought to the table. And I've always, you know, marketed myself a certain way. You know, I don't use social media as a way to express my frustrations, right? I use social media to bring value to others. You know, my wife and I, we tell our story. You know, my wife is a first generation doctor. She's, you know, a captain, actually just got promoted in the Air Force, you know, and I mean, we're both young and we've been grinding together from day one, to like building our empire together. We both have phenomenal stories. So that's what we talk about. It's more about motivation. It was not about love. It was not about, you know, our lives or fitness. We don't really touch it, you know, because that's not what we use it for. You know, we can discuss our frustrations internally. And they love that about me, but they also love the hard work that I was putting in, because nobody could ever fathom that I was an engineer. I just say you don't act like an engineer, and you know, for the stereotypes that's out there. But I was like, yeah, but I'm actually trying to get out of it. And honestly, man, you know, when we did that national campaign, I quit engineering maybe 9 months later, and I've been sprinting ever since. Ever since, man. Yeah.
Love it. So you, like you said a lot there. And one of the things is that, you know, you guys have built a dynasty. You know, you've built several different things. So one of the things I want to get your perspective on, because one of the things that you built from that was Studio Cincy. That is a co-working space here in downtown Cincinnati. But obviously with COVID-19, that's not happening right now. So how have you sort of pivoted and transitioned in, because the one thing that's very apparent about you that just sort of shines through is that, you know, you respond, not react. Right? Like you respond. So whether it's COVID-19, rejection, you respond, not react. So how have you responded with Studio Cincy? And then let's move into what you're building with Inphlu.
Absolutely. So, you know, I think the blessing in disguise with co-working is that I saw the signs before COVID-19. Co-working is a very challenging industry to be in because depending on how you do it. Because yes, you can open a wonderful facility. You can have all the top amenities on the space that people want, but now you have to get the traffic, right? And you have to retain those memberships every single month in order for you to see revenue and then eventually profit. And I saw the early signs just based on location. I was like, okay, I need to make a pivot here. And in the midst of me making a pivot, I was working on a second location downtown. And, you know, we had the drawings, we had the electrician work done, we had the city came out just to view the property, just to make sure everything aligned with regulations. The only obstacle I had was just parking. You know, being downtown, parking is a huge issue. And so I met a couple of lot owners and we was able to work out, you know, about 20 to 30 spaces right across the street. So that was work. So everything was aligning, but just to get it started was the challenge, like just to get the build out going, just based on everyone's schedules and funding. And I was like, man, you know, what is going on here? And what I was going to do is completely remove the offices and just focus on what everyone wanted out at the Eastgate location, which is just workspace and studios and podcasting. I wanted to do a hybrid, which is what Studio Cincy is. It's a hybrid of creative workspace, but also co-working for, you know, small business or the professional minded that need to do meetings instead at Starbucks. And it just kept getting pushed back. And then COVID hit. And I was like, you know, that was the blessing in disguise, because had we went forward with that, we would be in a heap of trouble right now, just based on having all that space. Because this 10,000 square feet, Eastgate is 5,000 square feet. So that's 15,000 square feet total. And you still have expenses. You still got to cover your bills, right?
Right.
And so I was like, wow, you know, sometimes when things don't work out the way you want to work out, it's for a reason, but sometimes you don't see that reason, you know, from years down the road, and hopefully, you know, sooner than that, which happened to be a month for me. And so what I did is I paused Eastgate's co-working side, and I'm keeping open the creative side. So the studio is open. I mean, we're not taking business right now, but it's much less to maintain than it is to maintain the co-working side, which was not as popular.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so it wasn't. So we did do a slight pivot, but fortunately, it was before, you know, COVID-19 hit. So we're not as impacted as much as if I had opened up these two locations the way I had originally wanted to.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So.
Yeah, I was like, this whole story is, we have to bring you back, because now we need to talk about the art of the pivot, because that's really what I keep hearing from engineer. So first of all, you're already in that demo of African-American men in STEM, and then wanting to leave that space, then move into just the natural currency of how your life was going, to get into to become an athlete, to then the marketing aspect of things, and then entrepreneurship. Speechless. But grateful for you coming on, and kudos to you, T, for saying, Liberty, you've got to, like, I've got our next guest up there.
Thank you.
We've got they're flying, and I know on the replay again, good morning, everyone. I think we might have even lapsed us saying good morning, being enthralled in your story. But to where you came from and where you are now, what do you have to share to anyone who is watching? Because there are many people who are going through career pivots right now. They're going through business pivots right now. What do you have to share with them as any advice, or maybe even what not to do? Because that's something we don't always hear about.
Yeah. So I think, you know, one of the things that I've always kept in back of mind. So there's 2 books that are my favorite books. 3 Feet from Gold is my #1 book. It's by Greg Reid. You got to read it. It's really, really good. And the other book is called Only the Paranoid Survive. And, Only the Paranoid Survive talks about strategic inflection points. And so inflection points are pretty much what would cause you to change the way you do business. So obviously our inflection point right now is COVID-19. And then at 3 Feet from Gold, it says never stop 3 feet short of gold. In other words, success is going from failure to failure without losing enthusiasm. Okay. The GNC store I shared with you guys, I've been going for GNC just to be on a small postcard in the store since 2009. I never gave up. I stayed in shape. I stayed focused. I still took care of business, meaning I still had to go to school. I still had to, take care of my responsibilities as an engineer until I quit. And instead of me just being a small face in the store, I ended up becoming a national spokesman. And I've been signed for 7 years, and my face is in front of every store, 7,000 stores internationally. I'm on billboards in Hawaii. Okay. Mm-hmm. I never lost the enthusiasm. I kept the intensity. I kept the focus. And once you jump into business, I've been in business for 5 years. Inphlu is my 4th startup. We're a team of 10 people. My first company, I was 1 person. And things didn't go the way I wanted them to go, but I still stayed focused. I still stayed excited. When I presented my business, I presented it like it was $1 billion idea, and I presented results. So the #1 thing is never lose enthusiasm. Keep the intensity, keep the focus, and just keep chipping away. Because the thing is, if you stop, the title of the book, you may be stopping 3 feet short of gold. Because if you just keep chipping away, just 3 more feet, you would have struck gold. The thing is, you never know how close you are. You never know. So you got to keep going and understand. We all start at different lanes. It may, for me, it may took me 5 years to get there. For somebody, it may take them 1. We all got different resources. But the thing is that if you keep going and you stay focused, eventually you will get there. It's just a matter if you want it bad enough to stay in there when it gets hot and uncomfortable. Because greatness is created from being uncomfortable. It's never created from a place of complacency.
I love that. I love that.
Tweetable moment.
Tweetable moment. Josh, we got a question for you.
Yeah, so on here on LinkedIn, so James Oliver, he's an advocate for parentpreneurs. And now that you have a child, how has this affected how you are as an entrepreneur?
Yeah, so actually,
great question, James. Yeah.
It's a great question, and it affected me before, my wife told me she was pregnant, because, everything that I'm doing, everything we're doing was for our family,
right?
And so it wasn't, I have a child and then I turned it up. The reason I left it, and don't get me wrong, engineering is great. It just wasn't for me because there were things I wanted to do in my life that engineering wasn't going to allow me to do. Okay. Mm-hmm. Because it only leveraged 10% of my skills.
Right.
And so I was like, when I have a fan, it's certain things I want to be able to do. In order for me to do that, I can't be an engineer. And so it was before then. Now, reality hits and you have a child, it changes your schedule. But fortunately, my mother-in-law has been able to move here from Cleveland to help out with, my baby girl, so her grandbaby. So that's been a tremendous help, a tremendous blessing. So pulling your resources wherever you can to really help. But, I got to say, if you're waiting for, that dramatic change before you get focused, then you don't want it bad enough. You got to turn it up before it hits. And so the intensity has been at an all-time high years before my wife and I said, okay, we ready to turn this thing into a family. So, the program is, we've just been focused before then, so not that's where I can answer. But I would just say, don't wait for something to drastically happen before you want to turn up the intensity. And after, the child's got here, I just got even more aggressive because now, as opposed to me having 2 hours to do something, I got 1 hour. And so we don't have time for, loose screws or, we can get to it tomorrow. No, we got to do it now. And if we can't do it now, then we got to go somewhere else where we can do it now.
I love that. I love that. Josh, this has been like, you got me calling you the wrong name. My head is all over the place. This has been absolutely amazing. So before we get out of here, because we want to be respectful of your time, please take a few minutes, take like the next 3-4 minutes to talk about Inphlu, because like I said, when we met through the entrepreneurship cohort out of Dayton. And what I took from Inphlu is that instead of it being a platform for experts like Hootsuite or Buffer, it's an expert platform, which is that's subtle but important. So the actual platform is the expert, and it tells you, you know, how to move. So again, only if that's correct. Don't let me put words in your mouth unless it's the right word. So take it away.
Absolutely, yeah. So Inphlu. So I only in 2016, I started. 2017, I started a digital social media marketing agency, and you know, we work with a lot of big name clients. You know, Harley, Mercedes, nonprofits, pharmaceutical. But it was difficult for me to scale, and so what I did is I've been aggregating all that data from day one. So I told you I have footage of my life for the last 10 years. So from day one to start an agency, I've been saving all that data, and I was like, you know, the only way to really scale is if we can automate, you know, what we do as an agency. So again, that's that inflection point. And so that's what birthed Inphlu. I came up with Inphlu on Thanksgiving 2018, and did my first VC venture capital presentation in January 2019, and said it was brilliant. And so Inphlu, what we've been able to do is automate finding content for you, writing the captions, finding the correct hashtags, tagging, finding the photo or finding the article, and actually posting for you to your platform. So with Inphlu, you honestly can offshore all your social media marketing. So you don't need to schedule anything because we schedule it for you. You don't need to find pictures or write content or captions because we do that for you. And we also have our own analytics platform to be able to monitor it. And so we've been able to do that at a fraction of the cost. So we're a subscription-based company, software and solutions company, and it's month to month, so there's no contracts. There's no hidden fees. What you see is what you get. And we have a great number of clients or customers that use our platform, all the way from small business, you know, to big co companies that we're proud of. And yeah, so we're looking to scale. And that's pretty much what Inphlu is. We've been able to automate your social media. So if you're a small business and you're tired of focusing on social media, thinking of what to do every single day, you can all show it to us month to month and just pick it to that what's best for you.
Blacks in tech. Influencer, entrepreneur, motivational speaker, like a sexy man, and it's just I love it.
Thank you. Hey, and let me say thank you to I gotta say thank you to my mentors. I gotta say thank you to my mentors and my advisors, because without my mentors, without my family, you know, I would not be where I'm at today. So, you know, I talked a lot about the journey, but the key factor there is my family, my wife, you know, and my mentors, because they've allowed me to excel here, 20 years ahead, as opposed to me trying to do this on my own. And so I want to say thank you to them. I have great partners as well, just within Inphlu, Cincinnati USA Regional Chambers. We partner with them, NKU, African American Chamber of Commerce, OMSDC, Ohio Minority Supply Development Council, the ESP program. So thank you to everyone who's just been a tremendous support in our efforts, and thank you to you guys for having me on your platform.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to T when you chop this up, because there are you've got a lot of work cut out for you. a lot of gem drops, but yes. Thank you so much, Joshua.
Thank you.
We have show notes, so we'll be sure to include all the links so that people know how to get to you. So have a wonderful day, and thank you again. We're bringing you back. We're letting you know.
Got a lot I can talk about.
Yes. Thanks, man.
Thank you so much.
Blessed us. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for the blessing. Thank you.
Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
Wow.
I know, right?
There was no need for coffee, even though I have my tea, because that's just what I do in the morning. But talk about motivation, inspiration, and he just hit on so many points. Like I'm here like, okay, so the pivot and the storytelling, the making sure that you do more for yourself, essentially. Like when he said that aspect of like GNC's like, okay, they watched him. And that's the thing, you know, for anybody who is online right now and you're watching this, whether live, thank you again, live folks, or replay, is you might think nobody's paying attention to you, but they are.
They are. Yep, they absolutely are. And just to tie it all back, put a bow on everything, he has a data flywheel. Like he said about Inphlu, he had been collecting this data from day one. So as he was growing his agency and he was looking to scale, he had that data flywheel and he was able to use that to build a technology that scales and learns on its own. So we cannot harp on this enough, not harp, but we cannot stress this enough that in today's digital marketing environment, the people who win are the people who have the data is more important than the sale, folks. I want you to really hear me on this. The data that you get from the transaction is more important than the transaction because the data informs more transactions.
That's
right. So
there might be some people with some fighting words, but we need a show on that. Just going, bringing our salespeople,
jump in the ring. Let's get it.
Salespeople. So wow, you're right. And what I appreciate, and I kept saying the documenting aspect because he was able to control his own narrative, telling his own story. The video marketing in 2013, like many people are just jumping on board right now. That's showing that over 60% of marketing folks are like, this year, yes, we're going to use video. I'm interested to see what those statistics look like post-COVID, of course. But he put in the legwork, put in the foundation, and see where he is right now. That he's able to pivot without really much stress. If I'd like to take some liberty in saying that.
Take some liberty. I see what you did there. I like that. I like that. That was good. Yes, but let us know in the comments who you want to hear from, what topics resonate for you, and we will do our bestest to make sure that we bring that to you because not to toot our own horns or anything, but we're two rather well connected people. You know what I mean? So if there's something you want to know, odds are we can make that happen. So please like, share, comment, and tell us who you want to hear from. Tell us what you want to know. And we'll put the feelers out. Liberty is an excellent connector. Speaking of connectors, shout out to Mia Martin, she doesn't know this, but she helped put the show together because she introduced Liberty and I at a score event. And so shout out to Mia Martin. But let us know what is important to you, what topics you want to hear from, and we will make it happen.
That's it. And so we went a little longer than usual today, but the value that you got out of this, like T said in the comments below, of what question of the day, what is your takeaway about Josh's story and even your own story about the art of the pivot? How are you pivoting now in the midst of COVID? Career or life changes? We want to know, because that will also help us to bring those guests and those people that can speak and help you take it to that next level. So here we are closing it out. T, great job. Like, kudos to you for the gem of Joshua Reid. And thank you to everyone for watching. Go ahead and hit that like. If you're on Facebook or Twitter, go ahead and hit those hearts for us and share and let people know. Each and every Tuesday and Thursday morning at 7:15 a.m. Breakfast and Convos with Liberty White
and T at Deola. We will see you Thursday at 7:15.
All right, everyone. We'll see you soon.
Bye.